Hi all, this is Allmighty and welcome to this video. So in this video we are in round 5 of the candidates of 2018 and the very exciting 4 rounds are behind us. At the moment Caruana is leading the tournament with 3 points and he famously won the yesterday's game against Kramnik, and today I have a game for you between Levon Aronian with white pieces and Aleksandr Grischuk with black pieces. So Levon won pretty quickly. Got into the winning position pretty quickly in round 4 against Sergei Karjakin, but Karjakin decided to play until the 60th move only to lose in the rook endgame 3 pawns down. But I wouldn't say that Aronian really broke a sweat in yesterday's game, and today he is also looking for a win. On the other side we have Grischuk, who probably is psychologically in the worst position because yesterday he missed that bishop to h4 followed by queen to g4 move that would actually bring him a victory against Liren. And nevertheless, we have in this game d4, knight to f6. So as I've said, Aronian is white and Grischuk is black, and we have c4, g6. So going for some King's Indian or maybe even Grünfeld variations, but Aronian plays f3 immediately and kind of goes for this anti-Grünfeld defense. We have c5 because white is trying to push e4 and occupy the center. Grischuk decides to counter it immediately. We have d5 and now d6, e4 and e6, and now knight to c3. E takes d5 and c takes d5. And in this position we have bishop to g7. So white created this nice pawn chain on the light squares in the center, and now black needs to really take advantage of that by using this dark square bishop. So probably this will be the most important piece in this situation, in this opening for black, and white will try to push on the king side probably, but white is still in the center and all of his pieces are undeveloped. So to tackle that, he plays knight from g to e2, and we have knight from b to d7, and now knight to g3. So transferring the knight to g3, and to actually attack this knight right away, we have h5. The problem with this move h5 is that it allows bishop to g5 in some situations. First we have bishop to e2 by Aronian, and now knight to h7, because Grischuk doesn't want to go castle right away, because then he allows bishop to g5 and nothing will be able to push this bishop away from the g5 square. So we have bishop to f4 instead, attacking this pawn, and queen to e7, queen to d2, and now finally h4. So if you can't, and of course Grischuk can't, he pushes this knight. This knight doesn't have any pretty square to go to, rather to f1. And now from this square, knight will have to go back into the game, but it is kind of difficult, especially now since Grischuk plays g5. Bishop has to go to e3, and now this knight is kind of trapped from this pawn and all of his pieces. And black is enjoying a lot of space, but in this position, after knight to e5 by Grischuk, we had g3. Maybe a little bit of a silent move, but the move that is planning to get a positional advantage pretty soon. And now here Grischuk actually goes into a think, and he plays bishop to d7 after all of this. And now we have g takes on h4, expecting g takes on h4 with Grischuk played, which essentially wasn't maybe the best move. Maybe you could have played g4, because actually taking on g4 isn't the best idea. You have queen takes on h4, and even if you defend, queen to f6 is good for black. He is a pawn down. He will easily capture this pawn, and he is enjoying a lot of space, and all of his pieces will be developed and active really soon. But Grischuk didn't push g4. He actually took on h4, and this gave a chance to Aronian to play first rook to g1. Attacking this bishop. So Grischuk played f5 in order to defend it, and now we had f4. So attacking this knight, knight went to g4 and e5 immediately. So in this position, so Aronian felt really comfortable, so he is much more active with white. He pushed the pawns, and Grischuk now has to think what is actually the best course of action. He is in a, so materialistically they are equal, but black is in a worse position because he is kind of cramped and these pawns are coming. So the two ideas that could have been are actually queenside castle and capture on an e5, and Grischuk took on e5, and Aronian blitzed out d6, attacking the queen. Queen to move to e6, and now a possibility could have been to play knight to d5 with ideas knight to c7, but now we have queen to d6, and after something like castles, yeah, black is in a, even though he gave up 2 pawns in this situation, he is in a really problematic situation because, yeah, he just this knight cannot move because the bishop is attacked. Of course, you will just recapture first with this knight that doesn't do anything, but all of its pieces, so there can be some nasty discoveries by this knight. Maybe 2 pawns up, but essentially in a worse position. Now, also what I wanted to mention, maybe even before, at this point, actually it isn't good to capture on e3 or something like that, because after knight comes into the game, white is much better. Since this knight can come easily to c4, defend on e5, or even jump to d6 at some point. The g file is open for this rook. This knight cannot come into the game very easily, and yeah, this is just winning for white. So if you're wondering about that move, but okay, let's just go back to that position where we were. d6, queen to e6, and now once again a very fast move by Aronian, knight to b5. With ideas, of course, you cannot capture on b5 because of bishop takes on b5. And after king goes to d8, you have even rook takes on g4. And pawn takes, and now after f5, you see that white gave up a lot of material, but the thing is, if you take on f5, queen to d5 comes, and this queen becomes very active. Also, this bishop's eyeing g5 square, and this on b5, you want to take on b7, and yeah, white creates so many threats that black can cover them all, and he is in a losing position. You would have to play something like queen to f7 maybe, but then even queenside castle works because this king is in the center and isn't moving anywhere. So yeah, already in a very difficult position. Yeah, Grischuk is already in a very difficult position. He tries to play rook to c8 to stop this jump to c7, and then forking the king and the rook on a8. Nevertheless, we had knight c7, rook takes, and a pawn takes. And now we have e takes on f4. Grischuk wants to open up the position a little bit, yeah, attack this bishop, and also, yeah, make this bishop alive. And now we have rook to d1 by Aronian. The idea is to push c8 to queen, and if bishop takes, then you have check on d8, check on c7, a lot of checks possible, and yeah, Aronian is going to win some material or go for some checkmate ideas. And actually, to actually counter all of that, yeah, so let me just show you. If you take f takes on e3, then you have also queen takes on d7. And if queen takes on d7, you have this bishop to b5 move. Now the queen has to take, otherwise you will just lose the queen, and take on b5 because she is pinned. And now you have this queen goes out with a check. King goes to f7, you also have queen takes on f5. And if knight covers, you have queen to g6, king to e6, and rook to g4. So actually you would have to see all of that, but it's pretty straightforward because bishop to b5 is a really natural move, and Aronian had really a lot of time on the clock. It wouldn't be that hard to calculate all of this for him. But yeah, Grischuk didn't take on e3, and also taking with the knight would also be bad because just c8 queen, bishop takes, queen d8 check, king to f7, and bishop to h5 is now possible because this knight moved from the g4 square. And now you will actually give checkmate because yeah, king to e6 and queen to d6, this is checkmate. So a very difficult position for Grischuk, but after rook to d1 he found the absolute best move, which is knight to g5. The whole idea is that actually you are threatening, you are bringing the knight closer to the defense, making room for the king when he will be escaping f7, g8 to h7, and if the bishop moves, there are ideas of knight to f3 check. So covering a lot of ground there, and we saw c8 queen by Aronian. Bishop to c8, and now queen to d8 check. King to f7 and queen to c7 check. And in this position, actually, the best move was to just cover with the queen, not being afraid of, for example, bishop to c4, because you have queen to e6, queen to f6, and after rook to d6, you even have bishop to e6. Because in this position, this knight that was played to g5 is defending all of this. And queen could have actually maybe captured on c5, but all in all, you also have this knight to f3 check now. Everything is defended, and yeah, black kind of got out of it, not yet, but soon he is. And yeah, so this was also a possibility. But of course, white wouldn't go for all of this. Aronian would have to find another way. But instead of that, instead of covering with the queen, probably Grischuk was afraid of all of this. He played king to g8. And this is actually a losing move. We had rook to d6, queen to f7, and now Aronian missed the win. So the win was queen captures on c8. And now you can, if you block with the queen, you have rook to d8, so that doesn't make sense. You can block with the bishop or go king to h7. If you block with the bishop, you have actually bishop captures on f4, and yeah, pretty much white isn't attacked anywhere, and he is still threatening to capture pieces on black side. This rook isn't in any threat because the bishop is pinned, and white is just winning this game. So king to h7 is a possibility, so you go away so that the rook is attacking the queen. But now a simple queen takes on c5, and if, for example, knight takes on e3, this isn't possible because knight takes on e3, and after f takes on e3, you can capture the knight on g5, and if you capture with the pawn, you also have rook takes on g4. So after f takes on g4, you have bishop to d3, and also the queen can capture on g5. There are a lot of threats, and as you can see, by me calculating all of these variations, you can see that this was a pretty exciting game, and yeah, just to see those players calculate all of this, and that was just amazing. So after king to g8, as I've said, rook to d6, queen to f7, queen to d8 was played by Aronian, probably wanting to capture the g5 knight. But we have queen to f8, and now we see that it is possible, but because of that, you could have lose your rook on d6. So instead of that, we had bishop takes on f4, defending the rook and also the queen. But now Grischuk played knight to e6, moving it out of harm's way, and also, yeah, attacking the queen, the rook, the bishop, and also the rook was attacked by the queen. Everything was defended, and essentially in this position, Grischuk solved a lot of problems. We had bishop to c4, pinning this knight, but queen just captures on d8, rook captures on d8, and king to h7. Yeah, black solved a lot of problems, and now you don't even have rook takes on c8, and after rook takes on c8, bishop to e6, because rook to e8 comes, and this king that was all the time in the center, yeah, finally pays the price for that. So in this situation, we had rook takes on h8 and bishop takes on h8, and yeah, so we are in move 33. Aronian has a lot of time on his clock, and Grischuk is under a minute, and now he has to find a way how to actually, yeah, go to that 40th move in order to survive and get out the draw, because essentially in this position he has a piece and 2 pawns for a rook. A lot of pieces are on the board, and those pieces are doing a lot of stuff, so it is really complicated to play the situation. We have bishop to d6 by Aronian and knight to g5. So the main idea for Grischuk here is to actually make a lot of threats, so checks to the king, and also limit the space where the king can move. So now this knight is threatening to jump on f3, and okay, he left temporarily the defense of the c5 pawn, and now after rook to g2 we have knight to e4. So bringing the knight closer to this king, to white's king, and also defending the c5 pawn and attacking the bishop on d6. We had bishop to b8 and now bishop to d4. So not caring for the h7 pawn, rather limiting the king and also limiting the movement of this rook. So Aronian thinks about how to actually improve the position of the pieces, and we had h3. Knight to e5, moving the knight. Yeah, bishop doesn't want to take on e5 in order to simplify. Rather, instead of that, we had bishop to d5 because this bishop was also attacked. Now knight to d3 check, king to e2 and knight to c1 check. King to d1 and knight to d3 back, and in this position they reach time control. And okay, yeah, in a minute or two, Aronian played knight to d2. Grischuk decided once again to study the whole position and see what are the best moves. He spent around a half an hour and he played a knight to f6, which is the best move in the position, once again attacking this bishop. And after bishop to f3, Aronian played bishop to f3 and actually offered a draw, which Grischuk accepted. And yeah, this is pretty much it for this game. A very exciting game where Grischuk was on the ropes. So he didn't really had a chance to win it in the end. He has 2 pawns and a piece for a rook, but yeah, this game could be played at least 30 more moves or 20 to 30 more moves to actually see what will happen. But in a sense, yeah, Aronian missed once again the win. Later on, when Grischuk explained actually what he could have played, he was really shocked by it. But what can you do? You just have to, yeah, go over it psychologically and just continue with the tournament. Because after that loss to Kramnik, he went back with the win against Karjakin, and he had a chance to have a win against Grischuk and go to the top of the leaderboard. But yeah, unfortunately he missed it, and now we see that all of the 4 games in round 5 ended up being a draw. And okay, a couple of words about the rest of the games. We had a very quick draw by Caruana, and I think so we had Wesley So Kramnik also very quickly went into a position where they exchanged a lot of pieces, and then they played an extra hour and a half, a totally drawish endgame. We had a game between Mamedyarov and Liren, where we actually had also a kind of a drawish middle game, which ended up also being a quick draw, and Caruana against Karjakin, actually they also went pretty quickly into a draw. So not as exciting round as the previous rounds, but at least we had this exciting game. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I'm really looking forward to the round 6 tomorrow, because I'm hoping that with players such as Aronian, Liren, Caruana and also Grischuk, we will definitely see at least one exciting game tomorrow. And that being said, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.